Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
1 second. Ms. Moore, would you please introduce yourself and give me your Department of Corrections ID number?
Okay, my name is Mona Moore. DOC number 727-728.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. My name is Alvin Roche, and to my left is Mrs. Bonnie Jackson. To my right is Mr. Pete Freeman. Are you here for a revocation hearing this morning? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have a parole revocation questionnaire in front of you.
Yes, sir.
Is all the information on that questionnaire correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that your signature at the bottom of that questionnaire?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have an attorney at the preliminary hearing?
Yes, sir.
And do you have an attorney this morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, would Ms. Lewin open your mic, introduce yourself, and for the record?
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Lindsay Bluen with the Manassas Law Office. I represent Ms. Moore in this matter.
Okay. Ms. Moore, Ms. Lewin, you can handle this two ways. You can make an open statement, or you can save your statement to the end of the hearing. And at any time I'm reading the violations, you can chime in.
I would request to reserve until the end of the hearing. Thank you, Mr. Roche.
And you can chime in at any time that I'm reading violations, okay?
Thank you.
Ms. Moore,
Yes, sir.
the parole board is here to say that you have been accused of violating the conditions of your parole supervision. I'm going to read the violations, and you can plead guilty with a statement, not guilty, or not guilty with a statement. You can confer with your attorney at any time you wish. You understand the options?
Yes, sir.
Parole board is conducting this hearing because you've been accused of violating the conditions of your parole. Violation number 2. You failed to submit any monthly reports and failed to maintain contact with your assigned officer. As a result, a parole warrant was issued February 3rd, 2020. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Would you like to make a statement?
No, sir.
Okay. Condition number 3. You failed to provide a viable address where you could be supervised. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Condition number 4. You were arrested on July 4th, 2022 by the East Baton Rouge Parish, they say it's police department, but it was the sheriff's department, right?
Right.
You were arrested by the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office for domestic abuse, child endangerment. The court has not billed a domestic abuse battery charge. However, the police report states officer observed a black eye and a lump on the head of the victim, which was the subject's girlfriend. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Condition number 10. You failed to pay your supervision fees since July 21st, 2018. For $3,744 in arrears. How do you plead?
Guilty.
Your case has been assigned to Mr. Freeman. Would you please answer Mr. Freeman's questions?
Okay, Ms. Moore, you stopped reporting to your probation officer back in 2020. Why?
I feel like at that point of time, like they wasn't contacting me anymore. So I figured, I was staying out of trouble. I just stopped contacting them. I was staying out of trouble, but I did a change of address. Obvious, they said they couldn't find me, but I didn't know it was a problem.
Did you report that change of address?
No, sir.
How were you surviving while you were under absconded?
Sir?
How were you surviving? Where were you working? What were you doing?
I work in the plant. I do scaffold work. I'm a scaffold builder.
Okay, how long had you had that job?
I've been doing scaffold for 3 years now.
So you had money to pay fees. Why you didn't pay them?
Taking stability, taking care of home.
So during this time, you never thought to try to contact the probation and parole office?
No, sir.
And you were arrested in a warrant suite, correct?
Yes, sir.
See, thing is, I worked with probation and parole, and if you had been absconded for 3 years, that means every 6 months they ran a record check on you and they tried to locate you. Yet they couldn't. I mean, what's the deal?
I don't understand how they couldn't. I've been at the address I'm at now for like 2.5 years. And I did a change address at that address as well.
When?
In I want to say 2021. Every time I move, I did a change of address.
How did you do this change of address?
Oh, the post office.
Yeah, but I mean, did you notify the probation of the change address?
Well, I didn't, truth be told, I didn't know who my parole officer were.
All right, let's talk about the domestic battery. What went on there?
That day, me and Rashida, we had an argument, and I actually called the police because it ended up being me and the son had an argument, and I called the police to escort him out the home, and we had an altercation. We had a fight. She was breaking up the fight, so they assumed that it was me. That's what I'm guessing, and they locked me up.
So you figure she got the black eye and a lump on her head while she was trying to break up the fight?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't think to stop fighting while she was trying to break y'all up?
No, sir.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Jackson?
No questions.
Ms. Moore, would you like to make a brief statement before your attorney takes over?
No, sir.
Ms. Bluen?
Yes, thank you. Members of the board, I know that you have exhibits that our office submitted in advance of this hearing. You heard Ms. Moore say that she acknowledges, and she has straight up acknowledged, that she does not have an excuse for not providing her change of address to the parole board or to her parole officer. Ms. Moore, however, did acknowledge, and we have tendered proof in the packet of information that we provided to you, that Ms. Moore is telling the truth when she says that every time she moved, she did go to the post office and she did register a change of address. In the materials that we submitted, specifically Exhibit F, you see that she had done a change of address at least as early as 2022. And so in addition to that, Ms. Moore spoke very briefly about the work she's doing. I want to spend a minute talking about the significance of the level of skill that Ms. Moore has, and the fact that because of that skill, her job is still being held for her, even though she has been in jail this time. Ms. Moore has not only a TWIC card, she also has an OSHA card. She is a licensed scaffold worker. She is, before she went into jail, in training with the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Millwrights, Union number 1098, to actually become a licensed carpenter. She's had a very good and very consistent job for those 3 years. In addition to what we submitted as proof of her employment in Exhibit A, I also would like to draw your attention to the fact that she was also regularly and routinely being drug tested as a part of her employment. In Exhibit C, we have proof from her company that she was regularly and routinely testing negative. And so Ms. Moore has come in and made very clear to the panel that she is sorry for not checking in. She is sorry for not staying in contact with her parole officer, but that she was not endeavoring to try to hide from the state of Louisiana. She was working. She has a good job. Not only will the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Millwrights continue to train her if she's released, her job is still waiting for her to come back. And so if she is allowed to be released by the panel today, she will be back to that full-time employment, which will allow her to make payments on all of the fees and arrearages that she may owe to the Department of Probation and Parole. Lastly, I just want to touch on the arrest for the domestic violence offense. I've been practicing in Baton Rouge for a very long time. Hiller Moore's office takes very seriously any allegation of domestic violence in this parish, and they prosecute any instance of domestic violence conduct that they believe occurred. In Ms. Moore's case, her matter was no-billed by the district attorney's office. They chose not to pursue these charges because there was no instance after they investigated that a domestic violence has occurred. I have Ms. Moore's partner, Ms. Rashida Baloney, present in my office. If any of the members of the panel have questions for her, in addition to the packet of information we submitted, we also submitted affidavits from Ms. Baloney and her son, Mr. Paul, confirming that Mr. Paul was being put out of the home for disrespect. And that they also spoke with the district attorney's office, which was part of the reason why these charges were no-billed. Ms. Moore did not have these charges no-billed because she underwent diversion or PTI. She just had them straight no-billed. And so we would ask that this panel allow Ms. Moore to return to parole so that she can demonstrate that she can and will stay in contact with her parole officer, pay her fees, and hopefully in the next year, be a licensed carpenter with the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Millwrights working for the plant. I believe that that certification is going to significantly increase her income and make it even more likely for her to be able to pay off those fees in the very near future.
Thank you, Ms. Bluen. Okay. Is the panel ready to vote?
I'll move for an executive session.
I'll second.
We have a motion to have an executive session to discuss confidential matters. Would you call for the vote?
Elder Roche,
Yes.
Bonnie Jackson. Frankie.
Yes.
The committee of parole is going to reconvene. It's 11:08 a.m. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Okay, you know, your case, it kind of gets under my skin in a little bit because you didn't report, and I don't think you took your supervision as serious as you should have. I'm hoping in the future that you will take it more seriously, because if not, you're gonna end up in trouble. Okay? My vote today is to do not revoke and give you 6 months to become current with your financial obligations. And also that you report to your probation officer once a week for the first 2 months.
Mr. Jackson?
I find you guilty of violations. My vote is do not revoke, return to supervision with the same conditions as Mr. Freeman.
Ms. Moore? You have received 2 votes to not revoke. Ms. Moore, we have a gross disrespect for the system. You didn't report for 3 years. You currently probably $4,000 in arrears on your supervision fees. I want you to understand that you have an obligation to report as instructed and to pay those fees. I'm going to vote to do not revoke. I will be watching very carefully, and I want to see those fees, all $3,744 paid up in the next 6 months. I want you to report to your parole officer weekly for the first 2 months. And then you report as instructed by that parole officer. Changing your address with the United States Post Office does not fulfill the obligation of your parole contract that you signed. Whenever you change your domicile, you are to report that immediately to your parole officer. Your parole officer should know exactly where you are at all times. So if he wants to visit or she wants to visit, he can do so. I want you to understand that all of these conditions placed on you will be monitored. And we will ask that parole officer to notify this board that you're not following. And if you're not following those conditions placed on you today, I will personally sign the warrant for your arrest. We have understanding.
Yes, sir.
The decision of this board is do not revoke with added conditions that you report weekly for the first 2 months, and that all supervision fees that are in the arrears be paid up in 6 months from the date of this hearing. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.